There's no question about it, drifting is extremely expensive. And the number one question I get asked as a Formula Drift Pro-Am driver is how cheaply can you do it? How cheap can you take a shot at being a Formula Drift driver? Let's talk about it. Before we get started, I'm going to make a few quick assumptions about you as a driver. Number one, you have no partnerships, no sponsorships, no help. Every dollar you spend is coming out of your pocket and everything you buy is at full price. Assumption number two, you already have the truck, the trailer, the car to be competitive. That's a whole other video on itself. The car can be talked about later. Assumption number three, you actually want to be competitive. You don't want to be mid-pack, you don't want to be at the end, you want to be near the front or winning. A small disclaimer is all of these numbers are ranges, they're not exact, they can fluctuate depending on certain costs at certain times. So please don't budget your entire season around what I'm saying here, just use this as a guide to start thinking about what you may need to do. First, we have to talk about the biggest expense, the tires. The one everybody asks about, how much money do you spend on tires? For my series, we have to use the GT Radial SX2 RS in a 255/35/18. There's no room for deviation from that. So today we're not going to argue about which tire is best, which tire is cheapest, which one you should buy. We're just going to assume that you have to use a certain tire. This particular tire, again, assuming you pay full price, you can buy in bulk to get the cost down, but we'll assume that you pay $150 a tire. Each one of the rounds that I've been to, I've used at least 10 to 20 tires, so we're going to assume you do the same, which means each round costs you about $1,500 to $3,000 in tires. Over the course of the season, that should equate to $6,000 to $12,000 in tires. Now let's talk about travel expenses. My diesel truck here gets around 15 miles per gallon while pulling my trailer, which means every trip I make of around 500 miles round trip, I'm spending about $133 in fuel. Over the 4 events of the season, I'll be just a little over $500. Now we're gonna assume that you're not gonna camp at the track and you're gonna get a reasonably priced hotel room for maybe yourself and your wife. We're gonna say that that costs you around $100 a night. We're gonna say you need 2 nights per event, $800 for the season. The third category we're going to talk about today is your entry fees. Now these door cards and windshield banners do cost money and they're different depending on shootout series like this one or Formula Drift Pro-Am like this one, but we're going to assume that your Formula Drift Pro-Am season pass costs about $1,000. For this fourth category, we're going to go deep into the woods where my car can't hear me. Braking parts and spares. There's no way for me to predict what all you're going to break. I can just tell you it's probably going to be a lot. But just to be nice, let's assume that you have to replace a full angle kit throughout the season. Depending on what brand you have, probably about $2,000. Listen, I know this is a lot, just stick with me. It's gonna be okay, we'll get through. The last expense category we're gonna hit today, and believe me, there's plenty more, is fuel for your car to keep it running. There's so many variables to talk about with fuel, I'm not even gonna try and calculate it for you. I'm just gonna talk about how I would maybe think about it so you can plan for your expense. Take a look at how much fuel you're actually consuming at your fun days. Multiply that by 2 and carry that amount for each day and you should never be disappointed. But that allows you to start doing the math on how much fuel you'll probably use through 4 events of competition through the year. At the end of all this, depending on how you've spent your money in certain areas, your season should look like around $10,000 to $16,000 of expenses. The goal of the Cloud Motorsports YouTube channel is going to be to deliver as clear of a window as I possibly can into our sport. So if you think I've missed anything, gotten something wrong, or just want to learn more, drop it down in the comments. I'd love to hear it. Thank you all very much for watching today. Make sure you hit the little subscribe button so that you can keep up with us in the off season and watch the build I have going on with FabMac Industries up in Canada on my new engine. I'm going to be posting more content just like this, trying to give as much information as I possibly can to anybody wanting to get into the sport so I can help it grow. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, notes to the editor, follow me on Instagram, shoot me a message. I would be happy to talk with you and happy to help you get into drifting. That's all for today. I'll see you next time here on the Cloud Motorsports YouTube channel.